Hey guys, this is Max from Australian Vaporizers, and we're back again with a full product review of this little puppy. It's just arrived and it's the Arizer Air 2. I've explained Arizer as a manufacturer a number of times in our videos, so I'll just give this a quick skim over. They've been around for a fair while now, definitely one of the biggest names in the industry, a well-earned reputation for making simple, effective units at a mid-range price point. The portables in particular are super easy to clean, and honestly I'm a bit of a fanboy for them. Quick rundown of the current range here: we have the Extreme Q and the V-Tower, which are obviously desktop vaporizers. The Arizer Solo, classic workhorse. The smaller, more portable Air, which has less battery life but a more easily replaceable battery and slightly improved airflow. And then finally the Solo 2. Huge battery life, airflow improved again, even over the air, full temperature control via the display on the front, and some other nifty little features. So, long story short, the Air 2 for the most part is to the original Air what the Solo 2 is to the original Solo, with a few small exceptions. But let's get stuck in and see just what's going on here. Here's the box. Definitely seeing some massive improvements from Arizer in this department recently. Magnetized lid for added loveliness. Before we do anything else, let's grab the unit here, and as you can see, not a major redesign or anything. As with the Solo 2, it's the same basic form factor as its little brother. In fact, here's the original Air. Same exact size, which is totally fine with me. About the same weight too, at just over 100 grams. First thing you'll notice here is that it's got a screen on the front. Always a welcome addition. Temp control buttons below as per usual, and as with the Solo 2, we have this M button for changing settings. Moving up to the top here, there's a standard Arizer heating chamber. And around the back is where we see another cool addition, a micro USB port, making this Arizer's first micro USB chargeable portable. With this becoming a standard across the portable market, it's good to see them follow suit. Finally, underneath the unit, we've got the same removable battery system as the old Air, but this particular 18650 is a higher capacity model. We'll go into this a bit later on. Overall, a really solid feeling portable here, as we've come to expect from Arizer. As far as materials go, the vapor path consists of stainless steel, which is the heating chamber, and the mouthpieces, which are made of glass. Which brings me to the kit inclusions. Instruction manual. Not too bad, but I think the operations section is a little sparse. More specifics when it comes to inserting the mouthpieces would be nice. Speaking of mouthpieces, we've got two here, one all glass and one with a plastic tip. These are roughly 70mm, but Arizer have been known to change between 60 and 70mm mouthpieces occasionally, so your kit might come with something slightly different. Next up, a potpourri dish for scenting out the room. A little stir tool, two caps for pre-filling your stems, some optional mesh screens also for the stems, a micro USB cable with a wall adapter, and finally, for the person that wants to look like a mid-90s businessman, a carry case with a belt clip. It'd be cool if they just included a run-of-the-mill padded case, but seeing as most portables these days don't even come with a case at all, it's not exactly surprising. All up, I'm happy with how easy the Air 2 is to use. It's nice and simple, but it's got some handy customization options too. To turn it on, you hold the bottom two buttons, that's the M and the temp down button. Now you have to hold these for 6 seconds by default, and it is a safety feature, but it's just a bit too long for my liking. Fortunately though, you can shorten this to 2 seconds in the settings, which is a slight improvement over the Solo 2. Now before you use any vaporizer for the first time, it's a good idea to A, charge the unit completely, and B, do a couple of burn-off cycles on the maximum heat setting. The burn-off serves a dual purpose for the Air and the Solo vapes in this case. Firstly, it sterilizes the unit, and secondly, it loosens up the heating chamber and grommet so you can insert the stem a bit more easily. When it first powers on, the Air 2 stays in standby mode, so to start the heater, just tap any of the 3 buttons. Towards the end of your burn-off cycles, I would insert one of the glass mouthpieces, as it can be a real squeeze while the unit's cold. Give it a little twist as you pop it in too. Once you've done this the first time, it should be relatively easy to cold fit the stems from that point on. Anyway, once you're all done with the boring part, you can start loading your unit up for the first session. Leave the unit off while you're packing the stems so you don't overheat your precious goods. Just like all the other Arizer portables, you actually load your herb into this little cup section of the stem rather than directly into the unit itself. Hugely beneficial when it comes to cleaning, and we'll go into this a little further in a sec. If you like to finely grind your material, then I definitely pop one of the mesh screens into the filling chamber section before you load it. In terms of the amount you're loading, it doesn't matter too much. This unit's quite efficient with small loads, but seeing as it heats not only via hot air convection but also by contact with the steel chamber, you'll get much better results from a bigger fill. Try and be careful not to overload it though. Depending on how long you're taking to have a session, excess herb might get a bit scorched up against that steel. Once you load it up, flip the unit upside down, pop the stem in and switch it back on. Heaps of temperature flexibility with the Air too. As with any new portable though, start off low and test the waters a bit before you jump into anything higher than say 195 Celsius. Demo sesh time. Now, if you've used any other Arizer portables, don't be thinking the Air 2 will be any better or worse when it comes to vapor production. This is by no means a bad thing though. As I said before, it's efficient, but it also tastes beautiful. It'll tend to give you longer sessions than most smaller, purely conduction vapes like the PAX or the IQ. Don't get me wrong, still both great units, but you'll need to fill more material into those to get them going, and even then, you probably won't get as many draws. Cooling capacity is definitely great for the size, but like other Arizer units, you might want to grab a longer stem if you've got sensitive lungs. Draw resistance has noticeably improved since the original Air, and even more so since the original Solo, but it's still not quite at that point where I consider it to be perfectly free-flowing. Having a great portable vape's all well and good, but what's a great portable without the great battery life to back it up? Well, you'll be pleased to know that Arizer have included an increased capacity, user replaceable 3400 mAh lithium battery with the Air 2 kit. So it's that same 18650 form factor as the one that came with the original, but it'll give you an extra 2 or so 10-minute sessions per charge. I was able to get around 6 to 7 10-minute sessions in total, which for a unit this small is really good. Just bear in mind though that I vape at about 180 to 185 degrees Celsius. If you're vaping higher than that, of course you'll get less battery life. The gravy though, the icing on the cake, not only do you get more battery life, but the unit has a micro USB port for convenient on-the-go charging. Something the original Air really should have had all along. This means you can even use power banks to charge your unit while you're out. When it comes to charge time, it hasn't exactly moved in the right direction. The Air 2 does come with a slightly faster wall charging adapter, but the extra battery capacity means that it still takes about the same time to charge as the original, around 2.5 to 3 hours. Thankfully, you can use this vape while charging, but not from completely flat. You'll have to wait around 20 minutes or so, otherwise the charger won't be able to keep up. Moving on to customization. This M button, as with the Solo 2, lets you tailor the unit a little according to your own preferences. First is volume adjustment. This is just referring to the beep you hear when the unit powers on and off. You can adjust automatic shutoff to anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes. Temp format can be changed between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Screen brightness can be controlled too. And lastly is the startup timer. You can now shorten the duration to 2 seconds, which is an improvement over the Solo 2, which could only come down to 4 seconds. Again, this is clearly just a safety feature, but it was one of the most annoying things about the Solo 2, so I'm glad they've listened to feedback here. Now, I've gone over maintenance for the Arizer portables quite a few times on this channel. I'll try and keep this short and sweet. Glass stems are pretty much the only thing that'll need regular cleaning, but fortunately enough, it's really easy to do. Take your stem out. Take your screen out with the stir tool. Drop it in a bath of isopropyl alcohol. Fit a screen into your second stem if necessary, and away you go. Okay, so yeah, you will have to actually do some cleaning, but not until your next stem gets blocked up. Once that happens, take your old stem out of the isopropyl alcohol it was soaking in, run some hot water through it, and remove the remaining debris with a Q-tip or some paper towel. Leave it to dry, and that's pretty much that. The steel heating chamber will stain over time, but I've never really found that cleaning it with isopropyl helps that much. I generally just dust it out with a brush every so often, or even just use the little stir tool to loosen any caked on herb. Just try to hold it upside down over a bin or something while you're doing this. The whole glass filling chamber assembly is awesome for maintenance, but if you're on the move with it a fair bit, it's reasonable to expect that you'll break one every now and again. The good thing is they're pretty cheap to replace. Apart from that, lithium batteries will degrade over time, but once again, nice and simple to replace, or even grab some extras for longer stints away from power. Arizer backed their Air 2 with their standard 2-year warranty, along with a lifetime warranty for the heating element. Generally, we see low fault rates for the Arizer units, so I'd be surprised if the Air 2 was any exception. Overall, I think Arizer have done a really good job with this unit. It might not have the fancy pants Bluetooth connectivity or pure convection technology or whatever, but it's pocket friendly, it has a replaceable battery with very decent capacity, the vapor quality is awesome, and it's super easy to clean. I'm failing to see any significant downsides here. I mean, yeah, the glass mouthpiece can be a bit of a burden sometimes, and I was expecting faster heat up, but I don't see these things driving too many people away. Is it the vape for you though? Well, as always, it depends. If you don't need this thing to be as tiny as the PAX or the IQ, and you'd like to trade off a bit of, and only a little bit of, that portability for more herbal efficiency, then yes, I'd say it is. If you're after a tiny, super quick one-hitter, then that's another story, but for proper long sessions, that's where the Air 2 really dominates. Anyway, that's pretty much it for me. If you own this unit or you've owned any Arizer portables and you've got anything you'd like to add, any questions, any points to bring up at all, just throw some comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, this is Max from Australian Vaporizers. Have a good one, guys.